Usually, there's a word or a phrase that sums up the stories that I cover on this channel. But because this case is still ongoing, it may be a bit too early to try to define it in one neat term. But what can be said for sure is this. This story is wild, it is emotional, and it is deeply divisive. So let's get into it. This is the case of Aaron Spencer versus the state of Arkansas. On July 8, 2024, Aaron Spencer, a 37-year-old military veteran and a devoted father from Lonoke County in Arkansas, had his world shattered when his 13-year-old daughter told him that a 67-year-old man named Michael Fosler had assaulted and penetrated her. According to court records, after hearing this, Spencer went to the home of a woman named Leanna Higginbotham, who some records say is an acquaintance of Fosler, and other reports say a girlfriend of Fosler. He told her that Fosler had molested his minor daughter and demanded that she give him Fosler's phone number and his address. He also asked her not to tell anyone nor call the police. Out of concern, Higginbotham told a family member about what Spencer had said. That family member was a mandated reporter, and the allegation was passed on to law enforcement. Investigators then came to Spencer's home that same day. Police body cam footage captured the interaction that ensued. The summary being that, at first, Spencer refused to give them any details of this allegation, and when investigators told him that he could not take laws into his hand, his response was BS. Well, he subsequently conceded to investigators handling the matter, and an investigation into the alleged abuse of his daughter was opened. His daughter was also interviewed that same day at the Wade Knox Children Advocacy Center. And days later, on July 11, 2024, authorities arrested Michael Fosler. Now, Fosler was charged with at least one count of SA and one count of internet stalking of a child. And ultimately, he faced dozens of felony counts related to alleged child SA and online exploitation. But despite the seriousness of those charges, Fosler did not stay behind bars. On July 17, 2024, he was released on bond with conditions that included a strict no-contact order with minors. Everything came to a head in the early hours of October 8, 2024. Spencer and his wife were jolted awake by the frantic barking of their daughter's dog, and when they rushed into her room, her bed was empty. At about 1:12 a.m., Spencer's wife made a call to 911 to report that their teenage daughter was missing from their home. While his wife stayed on the phone with 911 dispatch and contacted family members, Spencer jumped into his Ford truck and started driving down the dark road, searching for his child, until somewhere on Highway 236 east of town, he spotted a truck that he believed belonged to Fosler with his daughter sitting in the passenger seat. Spencer made a U-turn, pulled in behind the truck, and started honking and flashing his light, trying to get Fosler to stop. When that did not work, prosecutors say Spencer followed Fosler's truck for about 6 miles. Then he rammed the truck off the road into a ditch, striking a wooden entry gate post. And this became a stage for a deadly confrontation between an accused predator and an enraged father. Now, what happened next is at the heart of this case. According to court records, Spencer confronted Fosler at the roadside and ordered him out of the truck. Spencer later told investigators that when Fosler stepped out, he lunged towards him with something in his hands and shouted an obscenity. Spencer then opened fire. Prosecutors say Spencer fired 16 shots. 15 of them hit Fosler, and after emptying his gun, pistol whipped Fosler in the face. Well, when it was over, 67-year-old Michael Fosler had lost his life. Spencer then pulled his daughter from the truck, reloaded his weapon, and then he made a call to 911 about 1:34 a.m. On that 911 call, Spencer said, quote, "Michael Fosler is effing dead on the side of the road for trying to kidnap my daughter. I had no choice." Those words, "I had no choice," are now central to both the legal case and the public debate. Soon afterwards, Spencer was arrested and charged with second-degree murder along with firearm enhancement that could significantly increase his sentence if he is convicted. Prosecutors say this was vigilante justice. They argue that Spencer intentionally created a situation where he ended up killing Fosler instead of allowing investigators and the court to handle the accusations. Spencer has never denied killing Fosler. However, his defense centers on his belief that his daughter was in immediate danger, and that the man accused of abusing her was violating a no contact order, and that as a father and a trained veteran, he acted to protect her in a split second crisis. Prosecutors, however, point to several key facts. The 20 minutes plus between the missing person 911 call and the shooting. Secondly, the 6-mile chase along Highway 236. And number three, the sheer number of shots, 16 in totals, with 15 striking Fosler, and then the pistol whipping afterwards. They argue that Spencer had time and alternatives of calling law enforcement again, waiting for the deputies to arrive, or breaking off the pursuit. In their view, his action crossed the line from protection into murder. And because of mounting local and national attention, prosecutors asked the trial court for a broad gag order to limit what attorneys, law enforcement, public officials, and even Spencer's family could say about the case. The trial judge then granted this order without holding a hearing, sealing much of the file and heavily restricting public comments. But Spencer's legal team pushed back hard. They argued to the Arkansas Supreme Court that a gag order violated his right to fair and public trial and free speech. And in a strongly worded decision, the Arkansas Supreme Court sided with Spencer and vacated the gag order. Now, that ruling reopened conversation, allowing more open discussion and what it might mean for self-defense law and victims' rights. Public reaction to this case has been intense and emotional. Many people see Spencer as a hero dad who stopped an accused predator from reaching his daughter again. In fact, multiple online petitions have gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures calling for the charges to be dropped and for Spencer to be freed. On the other hand, law enforcement officials and prosecutors warn about the dangers of normalizing vigilante actions. The Lonoke County Sheriff publicly stressed that the United States is a nation of law and order, and that if anger, even understandable anger, replaces the legal system, the result is chaos. Now, some legal commentators have framed this as a prosecutor's dilemma. Should the state seek long prison time for a father in this situation, or will that kind of punishment in this context undermine public faith in the justice system, just as much as doing nothing would? In late 2025, prosecutors filed a detailed timeline of events to support the second-degree murder charge as the case moves closer to trial. Spencer's defense team strongly disputed the state's narrative, emphasizing that responsibility begins with Fosler's own action, both the earlier abuse allegation and his decision to be alone with Spencer's daughter despite court orders. In a widely quoted statement, the defense said that Fosler made a choice to continue victimizing this child and that nothing said about Aaron Spencer would change the fact that Fosler was a danger to her and to everyone else. Prosecutors want Spencer's statements earlier in the case when he responded with BS to investigators telling him that he could not take laws into his hand, as well as on the 911 call, to be admitted as evidence, arguing that they show intent and state of mind. The defense filed motions in limine to limit or to exclude parts of this statement, saying that they must be understood in the context of shock, adrenaline, and a father's fear. As of late 2025, Aaron Spencer is still charged with second-degree murder and firearm enhancement in the killing of Michael Fosler. Reports indicate that his trial is currently scheduled for early to May 2026. And until a jury speaks, there are only filings, there are hearings, and a divided public. But in a twist that has drawn even more attention, Spencer has also announced a campaign to run for the sheriff of Lonoke County while still facing murder charges.
Hello, Lonoke. My name is Aaron Spencer. Many of you know my story. I'm the father who acted to protect his daughter when the system failed. I'm also a husband, a combat veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division, a contractor, and a farmer. And through my own fight for justice, I have seen firsthand the failures in law enforcement and in our circuit court. And I refuse to stand by while others face these same failures. That's why I'm announcing my candidacy to run for Lonoke County Sheriff. This campaign isn't about me. It's about every parent, every neighbor, every family who deserves to feel safe in their homes and safe in their community. It's about restoring trust, where neighbors know law enforcement is on their side and families know that they will not be left alone in a moment of need. Together, we can build a safer, stronger Lonoke County for every family. I'm Aaron Spencer, and I'm running for Sheriff of Lonoke County.
Critics question whether someone who is awaiting trial for killing an accused abuser should be seeking the county's top law enforcement job. For now, there is no verdict, only a community and a country that's watching to see whether a jury will see Aaron Spencer as a criminal, a protector, or something in between. I'll be following this case closely and we'll make a part 2 once there are major updates. But in the meantime, what are your thoughts? Is this vigilante justice gone too far, or a father doing what any parents would do when they think their child is in danger? Drop your views in the comments so we can break this down together. And as always, stay safe, be careful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.